Welcome to the Upholstery Show, live from Arlington, Massachusetts. We're going to serve you up a beautiful bowl of coconut fiber. Really? I guess it never gets old, you guys, but we are going to change that introduction. How you doing, everybody? Welcome to another question and answer. Jimmy has not had a conflict in his schedule, so he will not be here today.
No, we're starting early.
We're starting early as a result of that.
His class.
Normally, his class would be filming right now, and he's up to number 21 in that class. So what that means for you guys who have subscribed to the online classes, you are going to get a bundle of information from this. It's A to Z, meaning it's not a reupholstery, it's a restoration and an upholstery on a settee. So it's a huge amount of work. Many tips within that class. So we're looking forward to getting that up. And that should be coming to, I don't know, when should that be up, Patrick? At some point, maybe
late summer.
Late summer?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of editing to do, too. You know, if you guys who have the online classes, you wouldn't believe the work behind. It's not just filming the classes. If you've never filmed before, you may not know this, but there's a huge amount of editing that goes in this, huge amount of work, and that's going to take a little time with so many classes. So, but once that hits the airwaves, as they say, I know you guys will enjoy that. And if you haven't subscribed to the online classes, you probably should. This is probably a good time to do it with these classes coming up. And we have Bernice doing slip covers, which I advise anybody that's, even if you're not going to do slip covers, if you're just an upholsterer, I think that learning how to do some aspects of slip covering would only enhance your upholstery skills. So I advise you to do that. Other businesses, the YouTube channel keeps getting bigger and bigger, and we apologize lately. We've been so busy doing things, and I'm going to have a couple of announcements at the end about some changes, some good changes coming up. That we've neglected to post too many of these YouTube videos. We're going to promise we're going to get to that, and you'll see why after I read through the YouTube questions and comments and Facebook. So we're going to get to that. And as usual, we're starting early, so sorry if some of you might not be here right now, but maybe as we go along you will. Please don't forget to ask questions live. That's fine. That's what we're here for, especially for those people who are stuck on projects or they have questions about pricing. I think I got a call from one of our subscribers about pricing and about how to do that, and I'm more than happy to answer those questions too. I'm very transparent here with what I do. As you know, I'm here to help you enhance your career. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. If we have time, I'm going to measure out this recliner, show you how to do that, all the different pieces to a recliner, what they're labeled, and hopefully maybe get to some cutting too, so we'll see on that. Okay, let's get moving. Unless there's a question, we're just going to get right into this. So the first one is from Janine. I want to thank Janine for constantly, she's great at making comments, and I think a lot of times Janine is making comments for other people. She's also, I believe, Janine, you could correct me if I'm wrong, weren't you a teacher? But she's interested in spreading the education, and she's really good. And I know that some of the things she posts are for the benefit of others, and I appreciate that too. So she wrote from the Upholstery Show Live last week. So she writes, great question and answer. I have a pair of antique wingback chairs in velvet that are finished in French decorative upholstery nails, chained together with no trim or gimp underneath. The fabric, now you can do that as long as your transition is from fabric to fabric, if you know what I mean. If it's fabric to wood, you really can't get away with that because you have to stretch the fabric and then trim it, and then you'll have little threads no matter what type of fabric. So underneath the tacks, usually you put a gimp to hide that. But you can put tacks on, like say the bottom of a chair that's upholstered underneath. That's not a problem because there's nothing to hide with that are threads. So I just wanted to make a comment. She goes on here. The fabric is as tight as a drum, and I don't know how they would have done this unless with hundreds of pin tacks in place after stretching and then upholstering a nail hit in such a perfect finish. So the other way that you can do it without gimp is if it's a panel. She says they're wing chairs, but she doesn't say if they're paneled wing chairs, meaning each section is upholstered and not much padding. I've seen wing chairs that don't have a lot of padding. So if that's the case, and I think in one of our online classes we show this, in one of the classes that Jimmy did, I think, we show how you can fold the fabric underneath and stretch it. That's a trick. But you can only do that when there's very minimum padding. But if you have a lot of padding, you can't fold it and stretch it at the same time. So then you're back to that other problem of threads. Does that make sense? So is there any faster way, and I think I just mentioned this, to do this and get such a pristine finish without using staples or gimp to cover staples than the decorative nails? Well, there's double welt, if that's what Janine is asking. I'm trying to factor in whether the time would be worth it with velvet or to go a different route altogether. So I think what trumps folding the fabric or anything else, trim, okay, forget about trim. What trumps is stretching the fabric. That's the most important thing. If you have to stretch the fabric without folding it, then that's what you have to do. And then you have to trim the fabric, and then you're left with that problem. But you have to go with the gimp. You have to go with some type of under the tack. Do you see what I'm saying? And the scroll gimp is the best to use. Don't use French gimp. The difference is, and I think I mentioned this in a couple of question and answers a little while ago, French gimp does not bend around the corners. You could go a really tight corner with the scroll gimp and get it to just lay out without folding it over or anything. With the French trim, can't do that. So really there's only one, is the scroll gimp that you can use. And I think I answered Janine. There's a lot in there in that little paragraph. I hope I answered your question, but your focus probably, and I guess bottom line is your focus, because I don't see the chairs, but your focus always has to be stretching the fabric and getting it placed appropriately enough, and then worried about the trim afterwards, in most cases. So I hope that helps you. So Stephen, this is a new person, I think. Stephen, the basics of fabric. This is great. You are filling the voids that get glazed over when attempting to pick the proper fabric. Please keep up the excellent videos. Well, thank you, Stephen, because it's comments like this and Janine's that keeps me going. I mean, life would be pretty boring if we just presented this on YouTube and got no comments or nobody saying, hey, that attaboy, keep going. Because, there's a lot more than just me. There's people on the inline online classes. We've got 3 people on the online classes, 3 apprentice upholsterers. 2, and then Bernice, who's the master slipcover person. And then we have the people here, 2 people here that are doing editing and all that.
Well, I just saw the video that the comment was on basics of fabric. Maybe we should do more fabric videos, Michaela.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Michaela's a fabric expert.
Yeah, we should. There's so much to fabrics, and so one of the things is color. I mean, I'll admit to you guys, I'm not necessarily the best color person. I'm not. I don't. I go when I'm helping somebody. I'm always going neutrals and staying safe, telling people to do colorful throw pillows and things like that. I think it's good practical sense. But then when they start introducing their decor, they've got this granite top. There's a stone around here. It's called a Boston College stone. It looks like the side of Boston College here in Boston, that people want to try to match their fireplace. And they get into these really detailed things. And then you have to be you have to be an expert on color when you get to that point. And Michaela is. And to combine, though, with my knowledge of fibers and how to work fabric and a color person, teams in that regard sometimes are better. And also there's one other thing, there's another component, and that's scale. Oftentimes people, no matter who they are, even designers, are asking me, can you fit a 36-inch floral pattern with a vine into a little side chair? Well, the answer to that is no. Can you put it on a sofa? Yes, but you may not be able to match it. You might center it. There's there's so many variances here that it's pretty incredible. But you can all put it together with a good team and come out with a really good project. Randy says Class 2 Coil spring work. Now this is the online with Well, let's see what he
You skipped
says.
the question. That should be Michael.
Oh, Michael, I skipped a question. Okay, let's go back to Michael on how to upholster padding a chair. Kevin, do you have a video adding padding over zigzag replacement springs? And I can tell you I probably don't, because I'm not, if you know, I'm not a big fan of zigzag springs. But if you have zigzag springs, I would go with the burlap over the zigzag springs, because you have to put something in order to make up for the space gaps that zigzag springs create. And there's huge gaps in a zigzag spring. And that's not good. That's one of the problems. You know, when you look at a coil spring, it's, you know, the top, you're looking down at a coil spring, and then they're all lined up and they're all tied together. You get good coverage, and then you put the burlap on, you get excellent cover. But when you have zigzag springs, they're not as tight like that with the coil, with the wire. So, but the next thing is burlap, and usually I don't see too many zigzag springs with an upholstered seat. Usually I see them underneath cushions. So beyond that, you probably want to definitely, in my opinion, and I never see this on zigzag spring construction, they always just put cotton on it and that's it. Sometimes they don't even put the burlap on. They just put a felt piece over the zigzag springs. That's really bad, because that falls through in no time at all, and then you're left, the springs start to compromise. They break. So I would, if I had zigzag springs, I would do burlap. I would do rubberized horsehair over that, just to give it a little bit more oomph, a little bit more support. And then I would put the cotton over that, and then the fabric. That's it. That's all you can do. But that's good advice, though. The rubberized horsehair, you guys, is a really good enhancer for any type of seat, usually, because it just gives you a nice level base for all your other batting that you may put in, including coconut fiber if Jimmy is watching. That's Jimmy's favorite. It's no fun without Jimmy here. I got nobody to talk to.
We'll go the informative route, since we don't have to
So class 2, coil spring work. Good example of every tool has a hammer side. That is good to know. You know, I think we were showing the tack hammer there. And even the staple gun, where did I do it? Even the staple gun has a hammer. It's that little slide that comes out. It's called a hammer. That's interesting. But it's interesting that Brandy picked up on that. Janine, semester 2, the Boston Ottoman. Now we had a lot of fun on this. And in this class, before I haven't looked at Janine's question or comment, but this class has one tip in there that I think is worth the price of the class. If you guys are going to be doing any type of upholstery. And it's a technique and a little bit of a trick. There's some tricks in upholstery that you have to know how to do them for a good job. And I think in that one there, we show you how to do this, putting a welt underneath the fabric in order to get a straight line. So let's see what Janine, because she's obviously watching that now, or maybe already has. This is called dressing.
Jimmy comment.
Looks great so far. Well done, Jimmy. Those cuts for the Martha Washington chair look difficult to master. Glad you showed us.
There you go, Jimmy.
Was that, at one point we were trying something on the online classes, weren't we, Patrick? I was doing some side work as well.
Yeah, you must have been working on.
But that didn't work. I didn't think that worked out so well.
Too confusing.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We got, and Janine, she appreciated it, but I think we found we needed to keep on task, and that Jimmy is the star. He really is. I could say it now, because if he was here, I'd probably, make,
all of our students, Michelle too.
They are. They definitely are, because that's what the target is for people. That we're targeting people who are learning upholstery, and they're the stars. We have a live question.
This is from Hi Zam. Can you speak about pocket springs?
Pocket springs? I'm not sure what they mean by that.
A little more information, we'll definitely be glad.
Maybe they mean they're called, some people call them rabbit ears. They might be talking about that. Sometimes there's these little springs that people attach to zigzag springs, which is interesting that they use a small coil spring to attach a zigzag spring. It's almost like they're feeling guilty. They should have used the big coil springs, but it doesn't do much good. I'll tell you what the problem with that is. Anytime you attach metal to metal, you might be able to, we just repaired a sofa that I'll explain in a minute. Metal to metal makes a noise, and when people hear a noise when they sit, that's associated with the poor job. So we got a sofa in here from a fairly good manufacturer, actually. I won't mention the name. It was a good manufacturer that used a mesh attached to these wire springs. Like this is what they call them, pocket springs. And what was happening is, they had two sofas. They're high-end sofas. They were worth a lot of money. Nothing wrong with the fabric, but the husband sat on one side often, and that mesh unit was collapsing. And as it collapsed, those springs were letting loose and loosening. So every time he sat on it, it sounded like the only way I could describe this, if you know that movie, The Christmas Carol, with Bob Marley, I think it's Bob Marley, the partner, when he's walking around with those chains and he's making those noises. That's what it sounded like every time the guy sat. So is Blair on? Is it what's his name, Patrick, from Pensacola?
I'm not sure.
You know who I mean. You know who I mean. His name escapes me, but if he's listening, he's doing repair work. So we repaired this by actually using the method and the supplies in our manufacturing kit that's offered on Broadway Upholstery Supply. It's the same material in there that we used to fix this sofa. So we fixed the sofa, and the customer's quite happy because it not only is it fixed from the bottom, but the noise went away. So no more of that. So now we're on to how to upholstering a dining chair, part 3, padding and upholstering the seat. Angieland Solutions, LLC. Such great content. You are such a gifted teacher and speaker. Love your videos. Thank you for teaching this craft to the next generation. And I really like that compliment, especially when she thinks that only one generation ago. I'm thinking it's more like 3 now, right, Patrick?
Yeah.
Because a generation is what, 20, 25 years?
Almost 50 years doing that.
So I have to say that we're going back 2 generations. I think she or he is being very nice. I hate
Centuries.
Not centuries. Cut it out. Not that old. So now we're off to how to make double piping. I think I missed the point. I was going to talk about something else there, and I think I rambled and I forgot what I was saying. But
yeah, I made too many jokes.
Too many jokes, right. If Jimmy was here, he'd be reminding me.
No.
That's his job. That's his job. He's the Ed McMahon of this show, right? Who's Ed McMahon?
See, you need Jimmy to understand that one, too.
See, that's the problem with teaching 2 generations ago. That nobody knows the references.
If I was doing the show, you wouldn't know my references.
That's true. I wouldn't know what a megabyte or whatever you call them. So now how to make double piping. Great video, but I wish you would have applied the piping, showing how to finish off the ends. Thank you. Well, if I had a piece of double piping, which I don't, but that's a good point. So maybe I could just explain how to do that. So when you're gluing and you're coming to an end on the double piping, you don't glue all the way to the end, obviously. You leave about 2 inches or 3 inches open on the end. And then what you do, 2 inches or 3 inches extended from where you want to put it. Let's put it that way. And then what you do is you cut back to about 1 inch longer. And then you cut the threading and then surgically remove the inside of the double piping right to the point where you want it to be done. And then what you do is you trim it just a little bit more, and then you fold the ends down and glue that down, and then you glue the double piping down. I hope that explains it. That's how you do it. Of course, it's much better to see it. I understand that. Patrick, I'm trying to think if somebody in the online classes had done double piping. I'm not sure, but we're covering a lot now on the online classes.
That's probably in a YouTube video, but the title probably wasn't piping, so people might have to search.
Yeah, people, you might have to Patrick's got a good point.
I know you did it in one of the YouTube videos.
Okay.
But it wasn't the title of the video, so it might be a little tough to find.
I think I remember this. It's been a while ago, but I think it's there somewhere. You're right, Pat. All right. The next one is from Lauren. Lauren's been a long time person too. Lauren Patrick.
Yeah.
She says this is about the upholstery show. Always enjoy learning and watching your videos. Thank you. And, a little simple like thank you like that really goes a long way for us. And I thank you. So I think the average, and I've said this before, the average YouTube viewer, I think 1 out of 10 maybe might subscribe. Is that right, Patrick? Or I think comments are even more rare, aren't they, Patrick? So you might get, we have 14,000 subscribers, which we're really happy about, or close to it. And I'm wondering, though, even with the subscribers, how many of those comment? And, we like all comments. We will field all comments, So if you've got a criticism, let us know. I know that in the early, just be fair about it because, that the YouTube channel is 10 years old. And in the early days, we were, with what we were using, I think we did a good job with camera angles, Patrick.
Right,
but really,
just kind of thrown together. There was no.
It's evolved, and we've been. At one point, I suggested, I think live on a show or something, that we should maybe get rid of some of the older ones. But somebody had a good point, Patrick. Somebody said, no, don't do that because it's good to see how the channel has evolved.
Yeah.
So I think that's important because, for instance, I think we were using just a cell phone.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
So now we have really good equipment and we have 3 angles and we've learned a lot about videography, specifically upholstery. So I hope that obviously the content that you're getting now is much better than it was in the beginning. So I guess that's my point. So now we have making a rollover arm cap. Kevin, you are fast. I was getting ready to order a set, but now I will try making them. Thank you. And thanks to the camera guy. There you go, Patrick.
That worked out good.
Everybody's a critic, right? So sometimes, I didn't mean everybody's a critic. What I meant to say is that everybody's using a phone.
Right.
And everybody's taking these fabulous pictures. I mean, the pictures that the average person takes today would be a masterpiece 20 years ago, right, Patrick?
Yeah.
Or 30 years ago. I took a picture.
With a cell phone, you don't have any sort of class or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I took a picture of Boston of a sunrise, and I was even stunned by it. Do you remember that, Patrick?
Yeah, it makes me think we got to take more pictures of your finished jobs. People love to see them.
I know, but sometimes you know how that works. Just we don't never get around to it. It's gone, delivered. Patrick will come in the next morning. What happened to it?
Yeah.
It's gone, Patrick. The customer wanted it.
That's why the videos aren't complete sometimes.
That's right. I mean, we're a working shop. Somebody once made a comment about, your shop looks filthy. I said, this isn't a studio. This isn't an operating room. This is a live working shop. Patrick can attest to that.
That's going to be with the announcement.
We will. We'll get to that, Patrick. But what I mean, we can have dust in here like you wouldn't believe. But anyhow, and with the electronic equipment, you can imagine. So Eileen, she says how to cut around posts. These are very popular videos, these posts, because I think this is the most angst that people have cutting around posts, because they're worried about making a mistake on sometimes expensive fabric. I don't blame them. Eileen says, thank you so much. I took adult education classes with an excellent teacher, and I've been upholstering for customers for many years, but still was having trouble with the cuts. I needed this video. Bless you. Thank you. Oh, that's great. So, for all you people out there, and this is one of the tragedies, I think, of this pandemic, really, and I mentioned this before, is that not only were the classes for the students during the day, for the young children, were canceled, but the adult education classes at night were all canceled. People, you got a red light on this, Patrick, blinking.
That's for the battery.
The batteries.
Okay, I thought it was my time was up and get off the air type thing. I thought they were giving me the hook. But it really it saddens me because I taught in adult ed in a school system around here for over 20 years, and I know that for me, it was a great outlet at nighttime, and for the people that took my class and other classes there, it was a fantastic outlet for adults just to kind of decompress from maybe stressful jobs. I had a lot of nurses in my class. I've had some doctors. I had a plastic surgeon once in my class who said, he, he was funny. He was
Hold on a second. Pause for a second.
What?
Go.
So I just wanted to finish up with that. I had a plastic surgeon in one of my classes. Being in the Boston area, in a suburb of Boston, we had a lot of professionals like that, and he was getting really frustrated with working fabric, and he made a comment that skin was a lot easier to work. I'm done. And but I guess the point is, these classes, these adult ed classes, are really used. They're really good for mental health of adults with high pressure jobs. Single mothers. I had a woman come up to me after a whole series of classes, and she said she was caring for her mother who was quite ill, and she only had one night out, and she picked my class to have that one night out. So I was really happy about that. But I want so much for this to get normal again, so that people can get back to their lives, but hopefully that will happen soon. So anyhow, so now
Number 9.
number 9, I skipped over something from R. Brown, and he says on the upholstery sofa stripping the fabric. Can you please tell me the tool you're using to pull fabric and staples? That's called the side cutter, and you can get the side. He says, I'm loving your videos. Thank you. You can get side cutters. I'm going to show you the tool. You can get these side cutters in any hardware store. Okay, some people call them wire cutters. I call them side cutters. See that? See, I've customized it to my hand. That's tape that I probably should retape these at some point. But right now, they've got a really good feel in my hand. So I sometimes will take off the rubber handles that they have, because I find that they're a little too big. They get in my way. And the side cutters made for pulling, my side cutters, and not so much for cutting wire and upholstery. It's just used to take you're not cutting the staple, you're rolling the staple, you're squeezing a little bit and rolling the staple. But these are, I'm using these tools. You can see, look at the handles. Those I use a lot, okay? Look how worn it is. It's actually got a patina on it. So that's that. Now we're off to
Facebook submissions.
Facebook, and is Jimmy on the comment list there, Patrick?
I
Somewhere?
don't think so.
I wanted to thank Jimmy, because Jimmy does a lot of the administrative work on this, and with all of our other tasks, I really appreciate that he does that, because we have a lot to do. Did I miss some things, Patrick?
No, that's it.
So here we go. I have a question. This is from Denise. I have a question about webbing the back of this chair. As you can see from the before photo, the webbing is attached inside the back rails and in front of the vertical post. From the after photo, you can see the vertical post is much farther back than the back rails. Okay. I think I know what she means. Question is, do I put the webbing in the same way? It won't be very tight, or some other method? Well, what I have seen that they've done here is, first of all, you have an inside curve. And you have this up now, right, Patrick?
Yes.
So there's an inside curve, okay, like this. So fabric, and I'm talking about the fabric first, right? Because the fabric's the top layer. Fabric does not want to go around, as you guys have known if you've done any type of upholstery, does not want to go around an inside curve. It doesn't want to do that. Fabric wants something flat, like this arm here, that you can stretch 4 ways, right? So you can only stretch this primarily or mainly 2 ways. So that should be a tip on how to put the first webbings on. Now, what I find interesting about this chair is, you look at the photo on the left, is that they only have, first of all, it looks like this might have been repaired once and they only used burlap. So originally they only used burlap, and they were relying on the tufting to add strength, overall strength to that chair. I would have never done that even new. So what has to happen is at least 2 pieces of webbing vertically. Okay, forget about your horizontal for now. The vertical webbing, 2 of them, are going to be your main support webbing. Okay, these webbings here are put on loose because if you pull them tight, you're pulling off the curve. Does that make sense? It's the same way with the fabric. You can't pull your fabric side to side too tight because it will have the opposite effect. It will be more wrinkled the first time you sit on it, or worse, it will pull away from the staple work that you put in. So there's a technique to this. And we have this on YouTube. I think a YouTube video somewhere, we show this. So Denise, be very careful that you don't do too much side-to-side tightening, okay? So all of it comes first vertical, and that includes your webbing, that includes your burlap, that includes your fabric. You start in the middle, pin tack on the bottom, stretch it to the top in the middle, and work out a little bit at a time. By the time you're done with your fabric pulling in the middle, the sides are pulled very little on this chair. Even if you're putting buttons in, you didn't mention if you're putting buttons in. But I hope that answers your question. It's a challenging job, Denise, but you should do it. I think you've been doing this for a while, I think. And that comment was seen by 70 people on the forum, Patrick. I just think that it's a good question.
Sure. Jimmy is watching quietly, he said.
Jimmy, we hope that you're watching quietly. Is that what he said?
Yes, he's watching quietly.
Oh, that's nice. This is from Themba. I like that name. I've never heard that name before. Themba. Themba. And Themba is from South Africa, right, Patrick?
Yes, Johannesburg.
Ah, very nice. I could see his reflection in the photo that he took. He says, "Good morning, upholsterers." I like that. It's already morning in South Africa, Johannesburg. Yesterday I had a very productive day, even though it was a holiday. Not sure what holiday that was. So I have to work twice as hard if I want to see my business growing in this department of upholstery. Here are the photos of before and after couches. Cool. I love his work. Wow. He went with a really cool, it looks like an ultra suede fabric. A gray ultra suede. What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Looks like an elephant.
Hey, there you go. Maybe that's meant to be.
Elephant couch.
An elephant couch in Africa. I think that goes well, doesn't it, Patrick?
That's good.
But I'm looking at his tack work. He did a pretty good job of lining those tacks up. And I want people to do it by hand. I don't want people to do their tack work with those strings of tacks that you can get. And every 5 tacks, you put another tack in. They're all welded together. Don't use those if you can. But he did a pretty good job, I can tell. You know, and when you're working with decorative tacks with a faux leather or suede or whatever, the danger is if you miss, you can actually put a hole in the leather or faux leather that you're using. So there's a danger there. So the trick is, you know, to take light taps. You know, you're not driving it in like a nail. And we have, Patrick, I know we have a YouTube video about this, and somebody made a comment about that, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and it was very helpful for them. But you should watch that to get some tips on French nails. And then he has the silver nails, which can be challenging. I'll tell you the challenging thing about any decorative nail is I strongly advise against those rubber tips that they have. They have a rubber tip hammer. Magnetic hammer, but I don't advise it because what you're getting with those, so use the regular hammer that I have. I know that you're going to put a scratch here and there, I know that, but you're getting a better hit on it. You know, with the rubber tip one, you're hitting it and you're getting like a trampoline effect, and that's going to affect the chaining of the nails. You're not going to be able to get as good of a line in with that. And do not be tempted to buy those guns that they have that shoot the decorative nails doesn't work. It actually puts them in too perfect. Because if you've seen my video, you're a little bit above eye level with all your upholstery work, especially the French nails, because that's how people are going to look at it. So the machine does not put the tacks in eye level. It's a machine. The machine puts them in like this. So I guarantee you, if you buy that machine and go and put all your tacks in, you're going to go back with your hammer and go to make it look like eye level. Does that make sense, you guys? Everything in upholstery is like that. It's not like framing. Picture framing is everything's down. You don't want to. I don't know much about picture framing, but I think upholstery is unique that way. I think, because it's a three-dimensional product that's sitting in a living room, sometimes out in the middle of a floor, and everybody's going to be walking around it looking like this. It's not like you're looking at a wall, right? Does that make sense? Anyhow.
Yes.
I hope it makes sense. So now Patrick is excited about this next thing because I want to mention about what we're doing. We have major headaches, which is space limitations, which is really getting to be, we're having growing pains, you guys, really. The online classes have done so well. Our focus has been that, and also the YouTube videos and the custom upholstery. I'm still working hard doing that, obviously. But we quickly have come to the conclusion we need another spot. So we are going to be expanding. We're going to be getting a studio that, Patrick's been bugging me about this for a while, and he's right. We're going to get a standalone studio, mainly to do the videos. I'm going to be doing some work there also, but we want to try to have a cleaner place. It's going to be hopefully not too far from where we are here in Arlington, but that's one thing that we're going to be doing. And then the other thing, we are definitely now moving into an area now for our students who, even locally and also anywhere, we're going to try to be offering services, retail store here to sell upholstery supplies and cushions in-house here as a retail operation. Right now we're doing it mainly over the internet. It will be still done on the internet, but people will be able to come in now here in Arlington. So when things get open up, so that's good. We're really excited about that. In the interim, because Patrick is going to be busy, Michaela's going to be busy doing the setup of that, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be trying to do this by myself, if you can believe it. I'm going to be like, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I know very little. Patrick's going to have to train me.
That's easy. Let's be doing it on the webcam.
On a webcam.
On the computer. It'll be much easier than the way it is now.
I hope he knows what he's doing because...
quality won't be as good, but you'll still be able to do the Q&As.
Well, that's fine.
Jimmy can still come in and hang out.
So I'll be like a one-man show. Be like that one-man musical band, that you see. I was watching a funny episode of Everyone Loves Raymond, Patrick.
Right.
It's one of my favorite shows, and he had some advice for his brother about doing... wedding invitations. He said, you don't want to do a good job on them. Make it so that you do a bad job so that she gets to do it. And then, because she really wants to do it. He was convinced the brother that he should mess the invitations up for his fiance will do it. And she'll feel better doing it, But then Raymond's wife found out that she assigned him to do the music in their wedding. And so what he did was he hired a one-man band for the wedding. One of those guys with the trim, And of course she said, "You're off that project. I'll do it. Don't worry." And of course he got found out. Right? Why did I say that, Patrick? Because this is what I feel like.
You're not going to have to operate 20 cameras.
I hope you're right.
So it'll be 4 or 5 weeks of a webcam, but then after that we'll come back with an even better setup at a freshly designed studio.
I hope he knows what he's doing because I know what I see. I'm about halfway into this live question and answer. I feel like I'm going to knock something over and then it'll go black. And then you guys be wondering what happened to me. I don't think you should.
Before we dismantle the studio here, we're going to try to film a bunch of YouTube videos too.
Yeah, I think we better, Patrick. I'm getting tired just thinking about it. Anyhow. So what time, how many minutes are we into this, Pat?
30 minutes.
Okay, you know what? I think that's great timing.
40 minutes, all right.
Let's just do a quick measure on this recliner. I think for all of you guys just starting out, you know, and you don't have a great client base, you may find that you need to do more of the ordinary furniture, and recliners certainly are ordinary. So I just wanted to show you how I proceed with this. The very first thing that I do is measure it out. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to label everything for you guys too, just to show you. So we'll get busy on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our little slash marks, like as usual, and indicating up and down, side to side, and that's as you're looking at each individual part of the chair, right? So let's start with labeling. I'm going to start with the seat. This is the seat, and we're going to call these boxings, and I'll show you where those are. Those are hidden on you. They're in here. These are the boxings, and there are 2 of those. You can even put a little 2 there, and then bracket these together because they are going to be sewn together, right? And then we'll go with the inside arms. I'll just abbreviate that inside arms and put an S so you know there are 2. You could even put a 2 there if you're not sure too. And then we're going to put panels. These are the panels right here. And then we're going to go inside back, IB, and 2 of those. Now you say 2 inside backs, right? You got 1 here, and then you got 1 on the other side. I don't want you to call that an outside back because we have an outside back. So 2 inside backs, 1 there and 1 on the other side. That actually looks like it's a semi-attached cushion. So it has the back and the front. And I like to finish off with the fabric, the whole cushion. I think it makes it for an easier job. If you have enough fabric, that is. Okay, and then we have inside wings. 2 of those, the inside wings. Okay, and let's just turn this around. Outside arms, 2 of those. Outside wings, 2 of those. And then here's your outside back, 1 of those. And then we're going to call this outside back panel, OB panel. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now I didn't forget this part, the footrest.
That thing's awkward, isn't it?
A little bit. So the footrest, small rest. There's a small little rest right here, and then big rest. The big rest. Notice how I'm not paying attention to the skirt yet. And then we have a spacer down below. We call that a spacer. And then we have mid spacer and then end spaces. I'm just going to try to show you what I'm talking about there. I'm going to lift this up. You guys see that? Okay. Now I think I've got everything. Oh, you know what I forgot? One thing. Let's just bring this down. Bring this over. This is a flap, inside back flap. And I'm going to go back up here and write flap. Inside back. And then I'm just going to bracket those 2 together like that. Now we need to do the skirts. Skirts usually I do separately. And I measure separately. Let's just flip this over. So we have, recliners are done in a little funnier way. We have front skirt. This is the skirt. This is up and down, side to side. So I'm going to get my tape measure. Actually, I'll use this one.
I can't really see that. Okay, I'm gonna pan down.
So let's mark it first. So we have the front skirt. We have front flap. There are two of those. That's hit these here. Then we have side skirt. And then back skirt. So what I usually do is I will measure this skirt to where it finishes up down at the bottom. They got it at 5.5, so I'm going to cut it 6.5. So all of these measurements will be 6.5 all the way down. And then what you need to do on your side to side measurement, you're gonna, everything's 3 inches, is usually 6 inches longer than what you see here. Because you need to flap it, okay, back. Okay, you want to close that up because you're using muslin underneath. And you don't want to see the muslin from the side. That's why I do 6 inches, believe it or not. So I go down here, it's 23 plus 6, that's 29. Even the front flap, I'm going to add 6 inches, that's 4. 6 inches is 10. Side skirt is 24 plus 6 is 30. And then the back skirt is 26 plus 6 is 32.
Jimmy has a question.
Jimmy has a question.
How much more fabric, if any, with this chair than a traditional wingback?
Ooh, that's a good question. They do take more because you see all the different pieces I have. So I think I estimated 9 yards on this. 9 yards. So a typical wing chair is 7. It's a good question, Jimmy. You see, Jimmy just demonstrated what the online classes are all about. So if you guys haven't looked, do they get a preview, Patrick, when they look at the online classes?
Yeah, I post the previews for each week on his. I've been doing that with. Well, right now it's for the mahogany.
No, I mean for people could see how they're run and give them the choice of buying it or not. That's what I mean.
Yeah, remember the overall. I do an overall ad.
Yeah.
So it shows kind of.
And is that on the website?
It's on YouTube and on the website. Yeah.
So, but Jimmy, it's really interesting what he just said because I forgot to tell you guys, and Jimmy did ask the question, and that's funny. During the filming of the online classes with Michelle and Jimmy, it's like that. It's like he'll turn to me and say this, and then I'll turn to the camera and say, "This is exactly why you paid for this class because you're learning not to do." Usually, you're avoiding a mistake. Like on this chair, if you ordered 7 yards of fabric on this chair, you wouldn't have had enough fabric. And it will fool you too because it looks like a wing chair, except it's got all these little pieces. And that's for a solid fabric. If this is a pattern fabric, it probably would require 10 or 11 on this one originally. So good question, Jimmy. So here we go. We have the skirt, and then on my other page I have all the other. This is everything I need, which I'm going to get busy cutting next time. I'm not going to do that now. I thought I might have had time to do that, but what I didn't do is fill in these measurements, so I think we have some time maybe to do that, Patrick.
Yep.
So the seat, I'm going to measure front to back. You have to go all the way, and here's another reason, right, why it takes more fabric. All the way down there. It is attached here. It would help it if I turn it the right way.
Are you going to be on the cutting table? Should I change the button?
We're not. I think we're going to finish up here, Patrick, with the measuring.
Let me quickly fix that.
37. Side to side. Now, the side to side measurement is interesting. What we're going to do is get an exact measurement side to side. Because this is a seam, we only need 1/2 of an inch on each side. I got 21.5, so it's 22.5. I am going to measure the back to make sure that it's consistent all the way back. You see why I did that is because why cut it twice on that one? Well, it's 21.5, so it doesn't taper back, so that's the measurement. I'm allowing 1/2 an inch on each side. Now we have the boxings. We'll measure down here. So we got 27, I'm giving it 3 inches more. And then I need to really look in here to see. Goes underneath, so I want to make sure I give plenty there. 7 inches for those boxings. So far, this is what we got, guys. Inside arms, I'm going to come over here to measure this just to show you. It goes all the way underneath here, under the skirt, right? Don't be fooled. Roll over arms. People are surprised at how much fabric you need. So just to let you know, that's 34 plus 3 is 37 inches. That's a yard one way, right? 37. So I want to show you, I want to demonstrate here with this measurement how much fabric it actually, what the waist is. So now I'm going to come this way, side to side. You got to go all the way around here and snake it around here. That's 40 inches, you guys. So what that means is, just the inside arms alone, I just wasted 2 inches. I'm hoping that maybe the wings I can get out 2 yards. I said 2 inches, didn't I? I meant 2 yards. But maybe I can get, my job when I'm cutting this, I have to be really careful, is to get my wings, you know, out of that, which I will. If you've seen my other videos, you know that we try to be as conservative as possible and start with the good measurements. When I say good measurements, like you look at the 2 boxings, 27, half of 27, half of 54, which is the width of the fabric, 27. So that might be my number 1 cut, you see, right? So I'm thinking about this already when I'm measuring. So let's do our panels. Panels we could get cut in probably in that wasted fabric too, that wasted side of the fabric. So 11 inches. And then side to side we want 6 inches. Inside back, let's see. Do I want a perfect measurement? No, I'm going to oversize this just a little bit, probably about 2 inches. I'm going to get 14 plus, that's 28, plus 2, that's 30 inches. 30 inches for the inside backs, and then I'm going to measure underneath here. I'm going to feel where it's attached and come all the way up. And we got 39 inches that way, 39. And then our back flap, I'll spin it around if you can see that, back flap. Well, this is an interesting project, isn't it, Patrick? It's a lot of pieces. So we got 5. We're going to give it 8 inches.
A to Z on this would be.
Oh, it would be a long time. 8 inches. And then 26 side to side for our flap. Inside wings. Now, inside wings, funny animal. And wings and outside back. You really want to make sure that the recliner will be in the up position when you upholster, to make sure that all your fabric is going that way. You don't have to worry about it when it's in the reclining position. This is almost a reclined position right now. That's not what you're doing. It has to be cut out and put on when it's in the up position. Does that make sense? If you, for instance, if you had a stripe, which thankfully I don't have a stripe on this, it's a plain fabric, but anyhow, John mentioned that. So side to side, always your furthest point. I get 11 plus 3, it's 14. And then up and down, we get 23 plus 3, that's 26. People say, why is it so much? I had somebody say to me, why is it so much? I gave a price. So the way I broke it down is, you know, and I think it was like a small project, but it was like $160. But it was 2 hours worth of work. That's $80 an hour. And usually I could tell you that most workmen always underestimate their hours. So sometimes people will just point blank say, why is it so much? And you have to answer, be ready to answer. I mean, you look at this, just measuring it, how long it's taken me. And I'm a professional. Outside arms, up and down. We'll make sure it goes all the way underneath. Did you see that, guys? All the way underneath. That's 18 plus 2. You don't have to, on the outsides, you could go 2 inches larger because you're not talking about stuffing. And then this wraps around all the way to the back, to the front, 32 plus 2, 34. Outside wings. Oh, I already did the outside wings. I made them. Did you guys catch my mistake? I already measured the outside wings as 26 by 14. Now let's see, I caught myself, inside wings, if the inside wings are the same. Sometimes they aren't. I don't think they'll be the same. So, yeah, they're the same. I was lucky. Glad I caught myself. Outside back. All the way there. 32 by 30. 32 by 30. Outside back panel is 27 by 14. I guarantee we're almost done, you guys. So next time somebody asks you, why does it take so long? This gives you an idea why it takes so long. I haven't even started upholstering it yet. We're still measuring. So the bottom rest is 15, and the side-to-side rest is 30. 15 by 30. Good thing I love what I'm doing, I'm telling you. 15 by 30. The spacer in here it's just a seam, so I'm going to go 14 by 14. You notice that that's the first measurement that's actually square. You would normally find hardly anything square in upholstery. It's mostly rectangular. And then you have a small space that's 14 by 8. Actually, I made another mistake, 14 by 14. I'm going to go back and measure the small, I didn't measure the small rest. So that is 16 by 6. There's all the measurements for the body and the skirt. All my main measurements are here. What I don't have is the piping, which I'll just go back and I'm going to get a linear on this. And from there, what I like to do is, when I do piping, I make sure that I don't string all my piping together. I like to do it piece by piece. I will get like an overall what I'm going to need just to give myself a sense. That's 1 yard, that's 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. I get an estimate of 10, or let's say 12 yards of piping. Welting piping, you know what I mean. And then what that note there will be for me to make sure that I remember, if I can keep a long piece, and this is another thing, Jimmy, if you're still watching, he'll remember on the settee, I was emphasizing to him, always, never, at a certain point in the beginning when you're cutting the fabric, you're getting all your good measurements, but at some point you run out of good measurements, meaning you get 2 out of a width or 1 width, and then you want to not cross cut. In other words, take you're going to have what looks like a puzzle piece, and I'm going to be finishing up soon. Let me just show you this. So your fabric, let's say this is the roll up here on your table, and your fabric's like this. You got one that's coming down like this, and then kind of like this. So this piece, right, is piping. You're going to leave that for piping. You want to get long strips out of this. So that the reason you're doing that, and so you're not cutting across like this and starting clean. That's not a good thing to do. It's at a certain point in your cutting. And this is what the online classes teach you in detail that I cannot do I cannot do this on a YouTube video. It's just too much work. You get it on the online classes, things like that, and that makes a huge difference. What does that mean? If you kept cutting across like this, you end up with maybe a 36-inch piece of piping, or small pieces of piping that you're going to have to piece every 18 inches or whatever, So be careful with that, and I hope that you learned something in this question and answer. A little unusual. I got to do a little bit more brain work, right? So that'll do it, I think, Patrick.
Yes,
unless there's other questions or comments.
I think we're good. Gabrielle apologized. We started early, and
right.
Please rewatch it. A lot of good stuff was covered.
Yeah, we did. We did, and we're sorry for the early start. Things were a little hectic. I promise things are going to settle down a little bit.
But it was good news. Jimmy got his vaccine. Doesn't have to worry now. So
oh yeah,
good. He was talking about it in the
okay, all right.
So it's good news while he's out. So when he comes back, he'll be stronger than ever.
He will. We're gonna have to give him a test. I think we should make him run a marathon before he comes in here.
Maybe it was like the Captain America super soldier serum. Maybe we got
Somebody said Jimmy's the.
if he comes back with abs, we'll have to.
I think he might come back a new man, a $6 million man. I think somebody once said, "Is Jimmy your sidekick?" I said, more like I'm his sidekick when he comes back. I'll be like his Robin, right? Well, anyhow, thanks a lot, guys. We'd like to have fun, too. It keeps things light. It keeps the seriousness of what you're doing, which sometimes, the work can be intense and it's laborious, and so it keeps us up light. We like that.
And bear with us the next 4 or 5 weeks. You'll be doing this one-on-one on the webcam.
And I think Patrick will find out, just like Raymond and everybody that loves Raymond, that a one-man band is not the way to go.
But we're still doing it. When we come, like I said, when we come back, we'll have a million different angles and a new studio. It's gonna be great. So.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
I give her one task. Press the N button.